today's episode of the Haters Guide, I am calling cap. If you believe that Legion era was actually a good era, let me repeat that. I'm calling cap if you believe that Legion era was a good era. So let me explain my particular reason for this. And I know a lot of people gonna be calling me, gonna be getting on my ass about this, and I'm gonna just be real with you. If I come out with facts and you come out with receipts to counteract those facts, I'll take the L. I'm gonna just be real with you on that. It's like, mama ain't raised no bitch. But that's besides the point. Anyway. Let me explain why I believe Legion era was a trash format. First off, let's talk about how long English has gotten Legion. Well, let's talk about that for a prime example. Because honestly, I think the major reason why Legion format wasn't really that fun was because, like, especially English format, we didn't get a chance to marinate on it. We didn't get a chance to be like, we didn't get a chance to, experience Legion era, especially like the way that like Japan experienced it. Because if you think about it, in Japan, they got their first set, which was the first trial deck, which was the Seeker of Hope. They got that on April 18th of 2014, and their version of Vanguard G didn't happen until November of 21st of 2014. So that means that they had like 7 months to actually play Legion era, and they actually had a chance to marinate on Legion era, and they had a chance to experience it to its full potential, which was actually pretty good. However, when it comes to English, we didn't get the Seeker Trial deck, which was the beginning of the Legion made, until November 21st of 2014, the same time that they started Vanguard G. And we didn't get Vanguard G until February 27th, 2015. We literally had 3 months out of the 7 months that they actually had to play Legion. We had 3 months to play motherfucking Legion. That's trash, man. I'm sorry, that's trash. So, like, especially anybody who's playing English and saying that Legion era was actually good, no, they half-assed it to the max. And I understand most of it was because they wanted, they wanted freaking English to catch up with like JP when it comes to like Vanguard G and whatnot, and that's completely understandable. At the same time, I would have enjoyed it a little bit more if we were able to enjoy the format. And don't get me wrong, we always have new mechanics out every single time something comes out. Like think about like Vanguard G for a prime example. We went from strides, the keywords, to G Guardians, to the Xeroth Dragons. It's all like they all connect somehow in some formation, but we went through all 4 of those in a span of 3 years. At least when we had keywords, we had a way to marinate with the keywords. We had a way to play with the keywords to its full extent. At least with the G Guardians, even to this day, G Guardians are still being used because they were like the best version of how to defend against everybody. Especially when you consider like one of the decks prior to like the G Guardians was like the Shadow Paladin deck, where it was using Diablo and you had to sacrifice 2 units in order to guard the Vanguard attack, and if you couldn't, then you had to take like a critical to the face. You had to take 2 criticals to the face before drive checks. I mean, I remember that time. That shit was difficult for me as a great nature player, but that's besides the point. The point is, I remember that particular time before G Guardians. That shit was kind of like messed up at times. But at the same time, we at least had a way to marinate with the keywords. We at least had a way to marinate with the G Guardian. Why am I saying marinate? But you already know what I mean. You already know what I mean. Exactly my point. We at least had time to use all of this stuff. It's all like, even when you look at Vanguard today, there are some keywords that are still being used. You have G Guardians that are still being used. You have the Xeroth Dragons. They're rarely used now, but people still use them and people still keep them as a backup, so you definitely have that. But at the same time, when you look at Legion, we only had 3 months to play Legion. It's all like, we got cucked out of Legion hard. It was so bad that Bushiroad didn't even make an English dub for Legion format. Like, remember that. They never made like an English dub at all or anything else like that for it. That's how bad we got cucked out of Legion era. It's all like, and then like to put on top of that, think about the ban list too. If anybody remembers, at one particular point, Cap Butler was put to 2 on the JP ban list. Why? Because they got a chance to experience Cat Razors at his best. It's all like, Cat Razors survived long enough to actually get hit on the list. But in English format, you never seen Cap Butler get hit on the list. You want to know why? Because we didn't get a chance to experience Legion at its full. It's all like, so there's that, man. I'm gonna be real with you. That was complete and utter BS. And despite that, we had some good Legion. That's the sad thing. We had some decent Legions and we had some decent stuff. Because one of the things that I will admit, one of the things that I liked about Legion in general was that it was one of the only mechanics that came out that actually, it was one of the very few mechanics that actually utilized some of the older mechanics without completely just like destroying them. For a prime example, like Legion Break Ride was like basically peanut butter and jelly. Even though I can't eat peanut butter and jelly, that's besides the point. It was basically peanut butter and jelly, my guy. It was like the combination that you didn't want to get rid of. Because it was like, when you looked at, like, let's say Spike Brothers and Frozen Ogo and Bad End Dagger, or you had Dimension Police with Sin Buster and Die Kaiser, or you had like Pale Moon. Even though the Pale Moon like Legion really wasn't that great, you still had Miracle Pop Ava and the Beast Tamer chick that I can't remember what her name is at the moment. I mean, you had those and they were actually pretty good. I mean, like, Legion utilized the break ride mechanic very well. Like, the break ride mechanic really wasn't like, the break ride mechanic was already good, but Legion enhanced it. In the fact that we only had 3 months of that enhancement that made break ride so much better was just complete utter trash. But then you also but then there's like another thing. So this one particular thing, I can never forgive Bushiroad for actually doing this. There was some clans that didn't even get a chance to get decent support in Legion. There was some clans that all they got was a promo. You had Mega Colony, you had Murakumo, you had Great Nature, you had Nubatama. All they got was a fucking promo. That was bullshit. I will admit that. That was complete another bullshit. That should have never happened. Meanwhile, you had like, what was it, Grand Blue, I think had like 2 or 3 like legions at once and stuff like that. You had like Neo Nectar that had like 3 legions. You had like Tachikaze that had like 2. And then of course, like, don't even get me started on like the Paladins. Don't even get me started on the Paladins. Paladins was ridiculous. It's all like all 3 of them motherfuckers. That was ridiculous. So yeah, I didn't like the fact that there were just certain clans that they messed up so bad in Legion era, they didn't even get a chance to get any support outside of a promo. They were like, oh, take this promo and that's it. That's your support. That shouldn't have really happened. I think that was complete BS. That's like a short one, but moving on. Next thing that I feel like is 100% true, and I know this next one is going to sound really nitpicking. But there is a reason I say it. Legion format was the beginning of not really earning like your best stuff. And let me explain what I mean by that. So, what was the condition of Legion, right? The condition of Legion was both players had to be at grade 3, and you put the 4 cards from your drop zone into your deck, and then you search out for your Legion mate. Sometimes you didn't even have to really search out for your Legion mate, but that's just me. Sometimes people did it, sometimes people didn't. People just wanted the recovery, so that was understandable. But anyway, that's basically how you do the Legion. And once you Legion, that's when you unlock like your best abilities and all this other stuff. And like when we had after like Legion, it kind of sort of did the exact same thing over and over again. Where you had like Stride era, when you think of striding, both players have to be at grade 3, and then you're able to stride by discarding grades that are 3 or higher. And then you get like the stride that actually has some of your better effects. And then you have like what was it? Then you had the first reboot with the V series where you had the markers, where all you had to do is ride into a grade 3 that had a marker on it, and you get your marker, and that was it. You basically just got all your best effects just by playing the game regularly. But when you look at like, let's say Mega Blast, the Limit Break, and Break Ride, I mean, you had to earn your better effects trying to do all of those mechanics. You had to earn it. And that's where I feel like that's one of the major things that Vanguard was lacking. It was a lot more fun, and the matches lasted a lot longer when you had to actually earn your better effects. Like when you look at Mega Blast, you had to Counter Blast 5 and Soul Blast 8 for your main grade 3. That means you had to be at 5 damage and have 8 cards in the soul in order to use the abilities, which is which I mean, you had to be at near death in order to use your finisher, which was actually pretty good. But then you also had like Limit Break, where you had to be at 4 or 5 damage, again near death, in order to actually use your finisher. And then the same thing with Break Ride. You not only had to be at 4 or 5 damage, you also had to ride another grade 3 on top of the Break Ride in order to not only get your better effects, but to also get the Break Ride effects. I mean, like, all this happened towards the end of the thing, and you had to actually work your way up for it. It wasn't just, oh, both players got the grade 3, we can both use our finishers and all of our better effects. Nah, you had to be on the brink of death, 1 HP left, in order to actually get all of your better effects. Now again, like I said, this is kind of nitpicking it, but at the same time, do not lie, it is actually true. Like Legion era, both players have to be at grade 3, you Legion into your Legion and all that. And then there you go, you got your finisher right then and there. You can be like at 1 damage, your opponent could be at 4. You can end your opponent right then and there just with that Legion. I mean, come on, man. I mean, at least the Break Ride, like with the Break Ride Legions, you still had the opportunity to get to 4 or 5 damage before doing so. But I mean, 90%, sometimes you're not always going to be able to use your Break Ride Legion. Sometimes you won't even find your Break Ride. You'll find your Legion first. But then it wouldn't make sense to go into your Legion and then your Break Ride and then your Legion. I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. But last but not least, I'm gonna say one more thing, and then I'm gonna just kind of like cut it off from there because I feel like this is too long. Um, you gotta remember that Legion was also the start of rush decks. For those who hasn't really played like retro Vanguard slash G era, like rush decks was basically, oh, I'm gonna stay at grade 1 and stay at grade 2, or stay at grade 2 and try to prevent you from getting into your stuff. This was popularized in both Legion era, and this was both popularized in Legion format, in Stride format. You know, where we had grade 2 rush decks. I mean, hell, we had 2 whirlwinds where one was grade 2 rush Aquaforce Ripples, and the other one was grade 1 rush 7 Seas Grand Blue. You know, we have both of those that actually exist and whatnot. And all of that was because, you know, sometimes going against the, what was it, going against the Legion was actually pretty powerful, like looking at Sin Buster for a prime example, or looking at like Gear Chronicle for the Strides. You know, sometimes it was difficult to go against those, especially if you're playing certain clans. So it would kind of make sense a little bit that you'll try to find a way to prevent them from playing the actual game by trying to rush them with grade 2 and grade 1 rushes. And I'm gonna be real with you, it was an understandable tactic, but it was a very dick way to play. Like, it was a very dick way to play. Like, it wasn't even like trying to let your opponent go to first place in Mario Kart just so they can get hit with the blue shell. Like, it wasn't like that type of dickish. This was like, oh, I'm gonna play Uno, and every time I get a turn, I'm gonna play draw 2 and draw 4s on your side. That's basically what it is. So I mean, all that, what I'm trying to say is, like, Legion, while it did have its great moments, while it did have its interesting deck techs, while it had an interesting mechanic that I feel like we should have had at least almost a year, not just in English format, but like in general, we should have at least had like a year or so in order to use Legion. Now we can't really use it because Legion is too slow. Especially Break Ride Legion, it's all too slow. We can't necessarily play it in today's format. I mean, and I kind of wish that there was a format where we can use like basically all Legions without it being a complete negative. But that's all I have for today. Thank you for joining me in another episode of Haaters Guide. See you guys Wednesday for Deck Building Wednesdays. I'm out.